A whisper of a memory, a chilling breeze from a past I thought I'd outrun, often reminds me of the day my world shattered, only to be rebuilt stronger, wiser. My name is McKenzie, and at 31, I discovered that trust, like a delicate crystal, can shatter in the most unexpected hands. Just last month, after years of relentless dedication, I sold my tech startup for a staggering $20 million. My dream home, a modern marvel perched on a hill overlooking the city, awaited, and I planned a $10 million cash offer to secure it. Growing up in a cramped Portland apartment, with my resilient single mom, Diane, and my younger sister, Rebecca, I believed family was an unbreakable bond. So, when I needed a safe haven for the cash overnight, where else but my mother's house? By morning, the money, my mother, and my sister were gone, leaving only a cruel, taunting note. You might wonder why I'm smiling now. That, my dear listener, is a story worth telling. Let me take you back to the peeling wallpaper and persistent mold of our two-bedroom apartment. My mother, Diane, worked tirelessly at the local diner, her feet swollen, the scent of grease clinging to her uniform. Money was a constant worry, and luxuries were unheard of. From a young age, I understood that education was my escape. While others played, I studied. While they partied, I worked, saving every penny. My determination was a quiet fire, fueled by the fear of remaining trapped in that cycle of poverty. It paid off, leading me to a full scholarship at MIT, where I continued to work, sending what little I could spare back home. After graduation, I poured my heart into my startup, SecureFlow, specializing in encryption software. The early days were a blur of 18-hour workdays, maxed-out credit cards, and the gnawing fear of failure. Yet, we persevered, securing major clients and finally turning a profit. My relationship with my mother, however, was a complex tapestry. On the surface, she was supportive, beaming with pride at my achievements. But sometimes, I'd catch a fleeting glimpse of something else in her eyes, a flicker of resentment, perhaps. When I'd excitedly share a business breakthrough, she'd often redirect the conversation to Rebecca's struggles or her own health. I always made sure to share my success. I bought Mom a comfortable 3-bedroom house, paid off her medical debts, and set up a generous monthly allowance so she could finally leave her grueling diner job. She accepted everything with a smile that never quite reached her eyes, murmuring phrases like, "Well, I guess all those years of sacrifice were worth it," or at least one of my girls made something of herself. Rebecca, 5 years my junior, seemed allergic to responsibility, drifting through life, always in some financial bind. Mom always made excuses for her, saying, "She's just finding herself," or "Not everyone can be as focused as you, McKenzie." I always sent money, despite my suggestions for career counseling being met with teary phone calls to Mom about how I thought I was better than everyone else. Looking back, the secretive glances between them, especially around last Thanksgiving, should have been a glaring red flag. When the $20 million offer came to acquire SecureFlow, my family was the first I called. Mom cried, expressing pride, and Rebecca squealed, immediately asking if I could fund her boutique. I was too caught up in my own euphoria to notice how quickly their thoughts turned to what my success meant for them. The acquisition process was long, filled with negotiations and paperwork, but all I could envision was my dream home. I was even engaged to Jason, a kind, grounded environmental engineer who loved me for who I was, not what I had. How quickly it would all unravel, I had no idea. The day I withdrew $10 million in cash from Pacific Northwest Bank remains etched in my memory. Mr. Thompson, the private banking manager, strongly advised against it, citing the risks. Jason, too, mirrored his concerns that evening. "McKenzie, this is insane," he pleaded. "What if someone follows you from the bank? What if there's a robbery?" I assured him I'd hired Kyle's security firm, 2 armed guards who would escort me to Mom's house, where the money would be safe overnight in her vault-like safe. "Why Mom's safe? Why not a bank safety deposit box?" he asked, his brown eyes filled with genuine concern. "Bank boxes have size limitations," I countered. "Besides, Mom's safe is practically a vault. I had it installed for her years ago for her porcelain figurines. I squeezed his hand. It's one night, and then we'll have our dream home. He wasn't convinced. 2 days later, I watched as $10 million in crisp $500 bills were counted out and loaded into 3 duffel bags. Trevor and Marcus, Kyle's best men, escorted me to Mom's modest suburban home. Mom and Rebecca were there, their eyes widening at the sight of the security team. Goodness, McKenzie, is all this security really necessary? Mom asked. $10 million isn't something to take lightly, I replied, directing them to the home office where the safe was built into the wall behind a sliding bookcase. As Trevor and Marcus placed the money inside, I noticed Mom and Rebecca hovering, their eyes fixed on the bags. At the time, I thought it was natural curiosity. Now, I understand it was something far more calculating. After the guards left, an odd tension filled the house. Mom busied herself in the kitchen with unusual enthusiasm, while Rebecca peppered me with questions about the new house. During dinner, Mom asked questions she'd never shown interest in before. So this money, it's all in cash? Not checks or anything? Yes, all cash, $500 bills mostly. And the bank just lets you walk out with that much? Rebecca's voice was higher than usual. Later, Mom took a phone call in her bedroom, her cheeks flushed when she returned. Just Helena from Garden Club, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. I slept in my old bedroom that night, the twin bed uncomfortable for my adult frame. Around midnight, I thought I heard whispers in the hallway, but dismissed it as my imagination. Had I known it would be the last normal night of my life, I might have paid more attention to the subtle excitement that seemed to vibrate through the house. Instead, exhausted, I fell into a deep sleep, completely unaware of what morning would bring. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the faded curtains. The house was unusually quiet. No smell of coffee and toast. Mom, I called out, padding down the hallway. No answer. Her bed was made, as if untouched. Rebecca. Silence. An uneasy feeling began to creep over me as I walked to the home office. The bookcase was slightly ajar. I slid it open fully, my heartbeat accelerating. The safe door stood open, its contents gone. No duffel bags, no $10 million, nothing, I whispered, my voice rising to a scream. I tore through the house, searching every room. In the kitchen, propped against the coffee maker, was a note in my mother's neat handwriting. McKenzie, thanks for your money. Now, we can live our dream life. Don't try to find us. Mom and Rebecca. My legs gave way, and I sank to the kitchen floor, the note clutched in my trembling hand. The room spun as the truth settled in my gut like a block of ice. My own mother and sister had stolen my money and fled. I fumbled for my phone and called Jason, barely able to form coherent sentences through my sobs. They're gone, the money, all of it, they took everything. 20 minutes later, Jason burst through the front door, his eyes wild with concern. He found me staring blankly at my phone. I've called them 16 times. Mom's phone goes straight to voicemail. Rebecca's rings, once then disconnects. They've blocked me. Jason knelt beside me, taking my hands in his. We need to call the police right now. The next few hours passed in a blur of patrol officers and Detective Sarah Martinez, a sharp-eyed woman with salt and pepper hair. Let me make sure I understand, she said. You voluntarily brought $10 million in cash to your mother's house, placed it in her safe, and now both your mother and sister are gone along with the money? Put like that, it sounded impossibly naive. This is a complex situation, she admitted. Because you willingly brought the money to your mother's house and placed it in her safe, it could potentially be argued this was a gift or a family financial arrangement gone wrong. A gift? I was buying a house. This was theft. After the detective left, Jason held me as I alternated between sobbing and rage. Who does this? I kept asking. What kind of mother steals from her own daughter? My phone chimed with a text from an unknown number, a photo of Mom and Rebecca boarding what appeared to be a private plane, both wearing large sunglasses and wide smiles. The message read, always wanted to fly private. Thanks for making it possible. 5 minutes later, a voicemail from Rebecca, likely using a burner phone. Hey sis. Bet you're freaking out right now. Well, get over it. You've had everything handed to you your whole life, while Mom's sacrificed everything. All those years of watching you succeed while I struggled. That money is our turn. You can make another 10 million with your big brain, but this is our only chance. Don't bother looking for us. By the time you hear this, we'll be in a country with no extradition treaty. Love you. The casual cruelty of her words felt like physical blows. Had I really been handed everything? I'd worked myself to exhaustion, taken enormous risks, and always shared my success. I'd bought Mom a house, paid her bills, helped Rebecca countless times. They planned this, I whispered, the realization dawning. This wasn't opportunistic. They saw the news about the company acquisition months ago and started planning then. My dream home, the purchase that was supposed to happen today, was now impossible. The life I'd worked so hard to build was crumbling around me, and the worst part was that the people who destroyed it were the very ones I'd tried hardest to lift up. The following days blurred into a haze of police interviews, lawyer consultations, and sleepless nights. Detective Martinez became a constant presence, her compassionate professionalism a small anchor in the storm. We've confirmed they left on a private charter to the Cayman Islands, she informed me. From there, we believe they took another flight. How did they even arrange a private plane? I asked, cradling a cup of coffee I couldn't taste. Your sister contacted a charter service 2 weeks ago. They paid cash, presumably some of your money, and used fake identification. Very methodical. She hesitated before adding, this level of planning suggests they may have had help. What kind of help? We're looking into some connections your mother appears to have made recently. There's evidence she was in contact with individuals known to facilitate this type of disappearance. The implication hit me like a physical blow. My mother was talking to criminals? Planning this? We found searches on her computer for countries without extradition treaties dating back 3 months and encrypted email exchanges. It felt like discovering a stranger had been living in my mother's skin. The woman who'd lectured me about returning extra change when a cashier made a mistake had been plotting a multi-million-dollar theft for months. The family lawyer, Richard Bennett, was blunt. This is theft, plain and simple. But pursuing it internationally would be challenging, lengthy, and expensive. The emotional toll became unbearable. I started seeing Dr. Elaine Foster, a therapist specializing in trauma and betrayal. I keep replaying every interaction, looking for signs I missed, I admitted. Was Mom always this person? Did she always resent me? Was every I love you just part of a long con? Dr. Foster leaned forward. The human mind isn't designed to process betrayal of this magnitude, especially from those we've categorized as safe people. It challenges our entire understanding of reality. I trusted them completely, I whispered. I would have given them anything they asked for. Why steal from me? Some people develop distorted thinking patterns around money and fairness, she explained. They may have created a narrative where they deserve this, where taking was justified because of perceived imbalances. It doesn't make it true, and it certainly doesn't make it right. These sessions helped, but only marginally. Nightmares plagued my sleep, dreams where I chased my mother and sister through endless airport terminals, always a few steps behind. I'd wake gasping, drenched in sweat. My relationship with Jason, too, was becoming increasingly strained. You need to start thinking about moving forward, he said one evening. It's been almost 4 weeks, McKenzie. Moving forward. They stole $10 million from me. I know, he sighed, but you're letting this consume you. Your entire life has become about finding them. There's more to you than this situation, Mac. I couldn't make him understand that this wasn't just about the money. It was about the complete shattering of my reality. The investigation continued to uncover disturbing details. Mom had apparently been maintaining a secret email account for years, one I knew nothing about. In it, Detective Martinez found communications with Rebecca dating back 18 months, discussing the plan. There were references to casino visits and significant gambling debts my mother had accumulated without my knowledge. Bank records showed she had taken out a second mortgage on the house I'd bought her, presumably to cover these debts. Most disturbing was a folder of documents found hidden in a crawl space above Mom's closet. Detailed notes on my company's acquisition, articles about my success carefully annotated in my mother's handwriting, and a list titled McKenzie's Weaknesses. At the top of that list, trusts family completely. Each discovery was another knife twisting in an already fatal wound. The mother I thought I knew was a carefully constructed fiction, or perhaps worse, she had once been that person, but somewhere along the way, resentment and greed had corroded whatever love she'd felt for me. 6 weeks after the theft, I sat in Detective Martinez's office. The Singaporean authorities found the hotel where they stayed, but they checked out 3 days ago, she explained, sliding photos across her desk. They've changed their appearances. My mother's shoulder-length gray hair was now short and dyed a rich auburn. Rebecca had gone blonde and was wearing colored contacts that changed her brown eyes to blue. They don't even look like themselves, I murmured, tracing my finger over my mother's face. The woman in the photo was a stranger. They're using the names Catherine and Emily Bradford. We believe they purchased these identities on the dark web. They're elaborate forgeries. How is that even possible? With enough money, unfortunately, almost anything is possible. I left the police station feeling hollowed out. My mother and sister were professional ghosts now, slipping through international jurisdictions with their new identities and seemingly limitless funds. When I returned to my apartment, I found 3 voice messages. The third was from Marcus Wilson, a potential business partner. Given the recent, complications in your personal situation, I think it's best if we put our discussions on hold for now. Call me when things settle down. It wasn't the first professional opportunity that had evaporated. Rumors were circulating in the tech community about my judgment and stability. My life was unraveling thread by thread. The breaking point came that evening when Jason returned from work. I got a call from Detective Martinez today, he said. She wanted to know if I'd heard anything from your mother or sister. And had you? I asked, sharper than I intended. His face hardened. Of course not. But the fact that you'd even ask, that says everything about where we are right now. Where we are? Yes, McKenzie, where we are. He gestured between us. You don't sleep, you barely eat. You spend every waking moment either talking to the detective or that lawyer or scrolling through international banking regulations. When was the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about the theft? The theft had become my whole world, the pursuit of justice, my only purpose. They stole $10 million, Jason. What am I supposed to do? Just let it go? No, but you need to find a way to live while you're dealing with this. It's been 6 weeks, and you're still in exactly the same place emotionally as you were the day it happened. His voice cracked slightly. I've tried to be patient. I've tried to be supportive, but you're not letting me in, Mac. You're shutting down every attempt I make to connect with you. I felt defensive anger rising. So this is my fault? I'm the victim here? Yes, you are, but you're using that as an excuse to push away everyone who cares about you. Deep down, I knew he was right, but admitting it felt like another surrender, another loss I couldn't afford. Just when I thought I couldn't sink any lower, my phone rang. It was Trevor Sullivan, one of the security guards. Ms. Walker, I have something to tell you. It's about the money. My heart pounded. What about it, Trevor? The $10 million your mother and sister stole, it was counterfeit. I gasped, my mind reeling. Counterfeit? What are you talking about? He explained that the bank, wary of such a large cash withdrawal, had a protocol for high-risk transactions. Unbeknownst to me, I had signed a special instruction form authorizing a swap of the real cash for counterfeits, with the authentic currency secured in Kyle's security firm's vault. The real money was safe, and the tracking devices in the fake money were still active. In that moment, everything shifted. The victim became the strategist. I assembled a formidable team. Kyle, Detective Martinez, my former COO, Haley Winters, and my lawyer, Richard Bennett. We tracked my mother and sister's movements across Europe and Asia, watching as they flaunted their perceived wealth on social media, spending lavishly, heading towards Milan. The confrontation in a restaurant in Milan was surreal. I walked up to their table, their faces now altered, but their expressions of shock unmistakable. "The money you stole," I said, my voice calm. "It was fake. And I've known about your plans all along." Before they could react, Italian authorities, prearranged by my team, moved in to arrest them. During questioning, my mother's resentment finally spilled out. She felt like a charity case in my perfect life. Rebecca, surprisingly, detailed their mother's elaborate planning. Both faced charges, with my mother receiving a 5-year sentence and Rebecca a 3-year sentence. 3 months later, I bought a new dream home, not the one I initially coveted, but one that felt truly mine. My relationship with Jason, though scarred, began to heal. I returned to work, launching a consulting firm, and reconnected with friends. The experience, while excruciating, ultimately made me more resilient, more certain of what truly matters in life. Betrayal, I learned, defines the betrayer, not the betrayed. And in the end, the sweetest revenge was not their downfall, but my own unwavering rise.